What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to q.v.o Games. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. My name is Juan, and this video is going to be about the games being released to retail the week of May 15th. Let's get this video going. There's a lot of great games, and I want to show you exactly what's coming out. Super excited. A lot of great games coming out this week. So, disclaimer, with the whole shipping crisis going on in the world, everyone has an estimated release date. Typically, I've noticed that games really do release on the date they're being mentioned, and they usually ship that same day as well. Keep in mind, depending on your retailer, your local retailer, they can definitely be carrying the game on that day, or maybe they made a mistake, their shipment didn't come in, they didn't put their order in on time. It's different factors. However, I scoured the internet looking for the exact release dates, and I only mentioned games on here that I have a release date for. If you're a publisher and you're watching this video, please reach out to me and let me know if you want your game featured. Try to give me the game's details maybe on the Friday before the Monday of the release date of your game. That would help me just give me enough time to kind of incorporate it into the video and give out some details. And if you don't have a web page or something with details about the game, please let me know. Just let me know the full details so we can fully explain what the game is. Excellent. So let's get this video going. Let's get talking about the games. First things first, it's going to be... first game is going to be releasing on May 17th called Usurp the King by DPH Games. So... Usurp the King is it's actually like a card game, and there's 5 different dominant alliances that you can play as, and your whole goal is to take over the king or be in charge of the king. That's how you win the game. There's going to be 2 different phases, and the game plays in 20 minutes as well, which is really nice. You take turns playing cards in the courtroom, and you send out a dagger as well to decide who you want to kill, and it can be not even the person you want to kill at that point. You can even go kill a spy. You can be a spy at that point as well. And then it's kind of the goal is to basically be the king. You can use your cards to bribe, conspire, stab, poison, shift alliances, all that stuff. They have some really great info on the website here that I found out. And here's going to be your win conditions and 7 different win conditions. You just want to eliminate the king or be in charge of the king. That's how you win the game. This game's called DPH Games, releasing May 17th. On to the next one. So, if you're not familiar with this one, Air, Land, Sea, Spies, and Supplies. So it's basically an expansion for Air, Land, and Sea. It's a game by Arkham Wonders. It's a dueling head-to-head game where you're playing different cards, and your whole goal is to be in charge of 2 out of the 3 theaters in the game. So it's kind of interesting and cool, actually, the game is, because the game itself you kind of have a mechanic where you can win the battle. You can lose the battle, but win the war. Lose the battle, win the war. And the way that works, essentially, while you're playing the game, you can choose to withdraw and kind of give your opponent the win of the round. However, that doesn't really mean that could have been strategical, right? So that means because the other opponent maybe is going to get too many points, you kind of spectate, oh, he's going to get a lot of points here. I should retreat, and then next round start again, because the game's played over several rounds, and from the rounds, you're trying to basically get points from each round, and at the end of the game, the person who has the most points wins. Lose the battle, win the war. That's kind of like that's how I explain that game typically to people. This is going to be just like a standalone expansion that adds new theaters to it: intelligence, diplomacy, and economics. You can mix and match with different the base game. There's also like a lot of other expansions similar to this, and you can mix and match all of them, which is kind of cool. This is releasing on May 18th by Arcane Wonders. Moving on to the next game, Mortum, Medieval Detective, also by Arcane Wonders, and releasing May 18th as well. The game itself is a deduction adventure game, and there's 3 different stories that you go through that each are about 3 hours each, which actually is a pretty good amount, especially for $50. You really can't beat that. So the game itself, looks really interesting because you get to pick a character, and the character itself, he's going to have different abilities, and the abilities kind of help you throughout the story, and multiple players can play, but the game itself is going to be, it's interesting because after you defeat a story, I mean, typically these games are deduction games that have these type of mystery or puzzles. For me personally, I can't really play a game more than once if I know the story, right? And how do you even play a game like that when you already know the puzzle? I see no point in playing it again. So that's going to be the main issue about this game, is that after you kind of play one storyline, after you play all 3 storylines, I probably would get rid of this game at that point. So it's $50 worth 9 hours of your time. I definitely highly recommend getting this game, of course. The game's releasing on May 18th. It's a different type of deductive game, and, well, not different. We have a lot of those already in the market, but it's going to be a new one that's coming out. And if you're into those type of games, I definitely recommend you check it out. Next game coming up is going to be Sherlock, the Sherlock Files Volume 4, Devilish Details. Looks like this is actually volume 6. My apologies, I misread that wrong. This includes three new confounding cases to solve. This is going to be more of like an expansion, you can call, for like the Sherlock Files, another deduction game that's coming out this week on May 18th. The game itself is, the system is pretty similar, honestly. You're going to go through, look through cards, find clues, and try to make pieces of puzzle in to just discover the case. If you haven't played these before, they're actually really interesting. I find these a lot more difficult for me. It's really, really difficult for me for some reason to just solve these cases, and I'm not too sure why. Maybe I'm just not good at deduction games in general. However, this game's releasing on May 18th. It's going to be by Indie Boards and Cards, Indie Game Studios. Continuing on, so Jurassic Park, Dr. Sattler, so Unmatched, essentially. Unmatched Jurassic Park, Dr. Sattler versus the T-Rex. This is going to be a new expansion of Unmatched. I talked about Unmatched on this in these series before, but keep in mind, there's so many expansions, and they're all modular. You can mix and match different maps, different characters, and you can go head to head, free for all, or like 1v2, different stuff like that, right? There's different rules and stuff. It's an asymmetrical card game driven by miniature fighting. And this is going to feature Dr. Sattler and versus the T-Rex. You can also, there's also like a Dr. Ian Malcolm, like there's a sidekick token. Sidekick tokens in a match are like this big, and they're kind of small. They're kind of interesting. I would like a miniature, of course, and there is like a special bundle where you can get a really nice miniature for it. However, I'm pretty sure the promo might be out soon, so I definitely recommend jumping into this as soon as possible. This game's releasing May 18th as well. Really interesting games. I think they're really fun. I definitely recommend them. Just check them out. Also, I love the box art. It looks really awesome. I love how that looks. Looks great. Let's move on to the next game. So, Sunny Day Sardines is releasing May 18th. This is going to be like a small, it's actually in a tin can, like sardines come in tin cans. It's going to be a small box game that you can kind of take around everywhere. Pocket size, I guess they call it. And that's actually a better word for it, pocket size games. The game itself is going to be like a set collection game where you're trying to collect different orders of sardines and trying to create the orders to get points by the end of the game. 2 to 4 players, some great pictures as well. 56 different cards. Yeah, I think these games can be, for me typically, it's really, I have to play them more often to really get more in touch with like my small box games, just because I'm so used to playing these big box games. I don't really pick up small box games that often, but I do want to get more into them. And Sunny Day Sardines looks like a great addition, honestly. I mean, hey, it's a small box. It looks like it's only $13 US, which is actually not too bad, honestly. Plays in 15 minutes. Pretty cool game to bring out maybe like at a pub, or you're waiting for your food at a restaurant, play with your friends for a little bit. That's definitely what I would recommend. Game's releasing on May 18th, and it's by 25th Century Games. Another game actually by 25th Century Games is Prehistories. Prehistories, I think I'm pronouncing that right. You're literally a prehistoric tribe, deciding which member of your tribe to go hunting and what prey they want to catch. So it's going to be a polyomino game. The polyomino game aspect of it, that's kind of, that's pretty standard. But I guess the kind of that's a little different is that you have a set of hunters, right? And when your hunters go out to hunt, depending if you have a lot of hunters, you work a little bit slower in your game. But if you have a little bit of hunters, you go faster. However, when you have a little bit of hunters, you can only hunt specific prey. And when you have a lot of hunters, you can hunt bigger prey, but you work slower. So that's kind of like the little balance there with the game. If you look at the pictures here, it actually does look like a really cool game, and a lot of people are covering it right now throughout like the social media platforms and different influencers. So it looks really, actually it does look really great. I haven't really played too many polyomino games, to be honest, so this is kind of an interesting one. And the ones I have played, I do have a lot of fun with them, but I haven't really found one where I can say it's my favorite polyomino game. I definitely want to try this one out. It looks like it's picking up steam really fast, and it's getting really popular. Here's going to be a video, of course, on their website that you can look out and check out. Check out some really, really nice pictures as well. Oh, looks like they got a bundle with one of their other games as well. That's really awesome. That's coming out May 18th, 25th Century Games. So coming out May 19th, by Portal Games, is going to be Everybody Lies. It's going to be a reskin with Batman, and if you haven't seen the new Batman movie, small plug, it's actually really good for being like a 3-hour, 4-hour long movie or something like that. It's actually really good. Small plug. Detective, the modern crime game. It's like an award-winning game. It's gotten a lot of different awards. It's ridiculous. I mean, the game's really popular. Everybody Lies is going to be the same exact system, just with a Batman reskin. Same thing with these deduction games. The deduction games have a tendency to, I play them once and I get rid of them. So keep that in mind. If your time is worth $50, depending on how long it takes you to solve these, it's kind of something you have to consider. going over a little more of the pictures, it looks really awesome. I love the comic book aspect of it, which the other detectives didn't really have that. They're a little more serious, I guess, or you can call them a little more nonfiction type of art style. So I love the way this one looks. I definitely want to play this one. I do enjoy the system a lot. So keep in mind though, the thing about these games for me is the fact that they don't really have anything to replay. They don't have any replayability for me. I wouldn't replay them. You take on the four keys of four investigators and cooperatively make decisions trying to solve a series of challenging cases. Each player has a hidden agenda, their own secret goals, and unique win conditions based upon which DC character they portray while playing the game. They will find their individual ways to get information and help with the investigation. It comes with four cases. That's actually pretty good. Four different cases. I think the modern crime, the modern board game, that one came with detective came with six cases, I believe. The investigation, solve the cases. Really, honestly, this is probably one I more than likely will be picking up because I really want to try this game and play it for myself. That's going to be Everybody Lies by Portal Games, releasing on May 19th. So, the next game coming out on May 20th is going to be the Bureau of Investigation in Arkham Elsewhere. So, this plays into like the whole mythos deduction game as well. Not social, keep that in mind, just deduction. When I did mention deduction for these previous ones, there's not really a social deduction game, just deduction. It's more like a mystery solver. This one looks kind of interesting. It looks kind of creepy as well. It looks very realistic and it looks extremely difficult. It's going to be a deduction game where you're kind of going through and you're trying to discover more mysteries be in the mythos era. Also, it's based in the 1920s as well. So it's still Cthulhu mythos, and it's interesting because a lot of the Cthulhu mythos games are based in the 1920s, which is fine. I mean, it's typically the era of those type of stories. Each investigation is independent and it's actually 1 to 8 players, and that's really interesting because I typically don't like play deduction games with more than 2 or 3 max 4 players. So I'm kind of curious to see how this one plays. I have yet to play any of the other ones. However, on the main website, you can actually look through and grab maybe the rulebook or the YouTube video to see if this one's for you. It looks really interesting so far, and it looks very serious. I like the challenge in trying these new games, but sometimes I can be a little. I'm not really good at them, so I have to have like a really good someone who's really good at them with me. And I like more the journey and the story of discovering things. Discovering can be a little difficult for me. I just like the story of everything, which is why I'm usually attracted to these kind of games. Looks like Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. So yeah, that's true. Space Cowboys actually do make all the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective games. So it's like the red box, the blue box, green box, and like I said, I've heard they're pretty difficult. I have yet to play one yet, but I'm looking forward to eventually trying that. So May 20th, things get a little exciting. Actually, Bureau's of Investigation comes out May 20th as well. Keep that in mind. May 20th, Ironheart Marvel Champions is going to be releasing another Hero Pack expansion. I've been playing a lot of Marvel Champions lately, so I'm really excited for this. Ironheart is a character from the comics. She's more like an Iron Man, younger Iron Man, I guess you can say. And it's going to be an expansion. It basically just adds a little more cards under the pre-made deck. I'm not too sure exactly how she plays yet because I haven't looked into it, but this releases May 20th, so I'm definitely going to be diving deeper into this to look at it. She has a pre-built leadership deck. If you don't know what that means, there's different aspects of Marvel Champions. You can be a leadership, protection, aggression, and there's 2 more, I believe, as well. This is going to be an expansion, so you do need Marvel Champions, the core game. It's going to be by Fantasy Flight Games, and it releases on May 20th. Also released on May 20th is going to be Nova, the Marvel Champions Hero Pack. Same exact thing. This game is also going to need the Marvel base game to play, and then you have Nova, who is another character. He's going to bring in some new cards, and that's basically it. And a new character to play. In the games and expansions. Something really cool that I forgot to mention on Ironheart, I guess, but we can mention it now, is that all the packs are modular as well, so you can play with Nova versus Rhino or Nova versus Kong the Conqueror. You can use them in all different scenarios. For me personally, I love those type of things where like you kind of plug and play. It just feeds into my imagination of wanting to see these battles play out, and I play out the battles in my head, which I love so much about these type of games. That's why I love the modular side of things, where I can have Nova in different scenarios or different one of the expansions doing them, because it just I just love that. It's just like the what if aspect of things for me. I love that stuff. Final game that we're going to mention today is May 20th by Come On Games, Marvel Darkness 2 Hellscape. So there actually was a Kickstarter for this game that was probably 2-3 years ago, and the Kickstarter is fulfilling right now. This game is also being released to retail, typical Come On fashion. They're going to release the game for retail with a lot of their expansions as well. I'm not too sure they do have a Kickstarter exclusives they're not releasing, but this is going to be the retail version of the game. So if you want to pick this up, it's a dungeon crawler cooperative game. No, I have played Master Darkness 1, and I've heard and read about Master Darkness 2. It's actually really interesting. The dungeon aspect of it, I hope it doesn't play like the rest of them. I feel like they adapted a style or a mechanic of games, and they just kind of replay them. They kind of just copy and paste into every game that I've released, and I just want to see something different or done differently here. So I can't wait to see this, and I do have a copy coming as well through my Kickstarter. Hasn't been shipped, hasn't even arrived yet. I haven't got a ship notification yet. So Master Darkness 2. The story is you're a light bringer. You're defeating the darkness, and it's come back. You're going into different dungeons to try to bring light back. Essentially, it's a pretty cool cooperative dungeon crawling game. Hard to say it's not. Definitely gonna play it, and I'm gonna play through all the content. I think it's an easy easy dungeon crawler to just pick up and play compared to other big dungeon crawlers that are out like Role Player Adventures, Gloomhaven. Jaws of the Lion is accessible as well. This is actually more accessible and easier to learn to play than that one. I'm excited to see what's going on with them, and we're gonna see what happens. So that is actually our last game that's released on May 20th by Come On Games. All these games, keep in mind, are U.S. release dates. I do the U.S. retail release dates just because it's going to be it's more relevant to me as well, and it's easier for me to track just because I live in the U.S. That's just what we're doing with the videos. Keep that in mind. That's really it, honestly. Let me know what game you like the most. Let me know what game you might pick up this week for retail, or what games you're looking forward to picking up next week for the retail. And definitely we'll have a weekly retail release video, and maybe we'll even do a monthly one. I'm not too sure. We'll see where this goes. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, I appreciate it so much. My name is Juan for q.v.o Games. Thank you. Take care.